Hello, I'm Karl Stabe, and today I have Neen James with me. She's the author of Exceptional Experiences. Once I saw the title of that book and I started following your content, I was like, I have to have you on my show. Thank you for being here.
What a privilege it is to serve your listeners, Carl. And thank you for everything you do and share in the world.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I think often we don't think about systemizing thoughtfulness. And you have this your framework, you talk about systemizing thoughtfulness. How do you break that down? How do you do that so it doesn't feel robotic? And maybe you can give us a story around this.
Yeah, I believe that systems create freedom. I always have. And I think that when we have systems, Carl, it frees up the real estate in our beautiful brain to enable us to focus on other things. I think of our brain as this exquisite luxury real estate. And so, what I want to make sure is nothing's living rent free in there, or we're decorating it with cheap thoughts that are not worth our time and energy. So, if everyone listening to this can think of their brain as this beautiful luxury real estate, and then what I want to do is make sure that the systems that you have in place are going to allow you to do whatever it is you do at an even more exceptional way. For example, people that are listening to this might be entrepreneurs running their own businesses, or they might be corporate leaders in their organization, and they know the power of systems. That's why they're listening to your podcast. But systemized thoughtfulness, for those of you who have the book Exceptional Experiences, you're going to find that outlined in detail on page 113. But I've always believed that we can truly be thoughtful on a daily basis. But I use it as a business development strategy. So, for example, what I think happens is we hear terms, Carl, like random acts of kindness. But what if it was deliberate? Imagine the impact we could have as leaders in our business, as those in sales, if we could be more deliberate in the way that we are expressing that kindness. And so, systemized thoughtfulness is something that I built many, many years early in my career, where what I was trying to do was be able to capture the attention of potential clients, or maybe even attracting team members so that I had an attraction strategy, but also eventually get those same people to become advocates for me and the brand that I was in. So think about this in two ways: mind share, how do you stay top of mind for people? And market share, how do you drive revenue? And that's the basis of the experience elevation model inside the book. So what I was doing was, it wasn't a very fancy system, Carl, just between you and I. What I decided to do was this: to build advocates, you have to deepen relationships. So I set up a spreadsheet. One thing you should also know about me, I hate spreadsheets. So this was like a big deal for me. But I get that some people love them. So if you're listening and you love them, don't come at me. But I decided this was going to be a grown-up system. This is as fancy as it got. I realized I wanted to stay in relationship with 20 people. So in my spreadsheet, I had a column with their name, and across the top, I had the months of the year, January through December. I decided that the only way that I could deepen my relationships with people is if I put a system in place that would allow me to prioritize that in my calendar. So the system of systemized thoughtfulness is I have an 8:30 Monday morning meeting with myself at the first Monday of the month, where I open that spreadsheet. I still use it today. And I go through those names, Carl, and here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for unique ways to connect with them. So it might include things like sending them this podcast and saying, I was privileged to be on Karl's podcast. Have a listen. Here's some things I think will be interesting to you. It might be sending them a TED talk of someone that I deeply admire. When my friends publish books, I will buy 20 copies of their book, and then I will send it with a love note that says, Karl, I thought chapter 5 would be fantastic for you. So what I'm looking for is really creative ways to stay in contact with people on a monthly basis. And the reason I do it this way is because I think in our digital AI world, Karl, people crave human connection. And so
Mm.
systemized thoughtfulness is having a deliberate system where you're tracking those relationships that you want to be able to grow. So every month, I'm trying to do something different. And the reason I use a spreadsheet is I don't remember what I do from one month to the next. And so for my luxury real estate brain, it seems to be a system that works. But the system is have an appointment with yourself, determine how many people you want to connect with, create a spreadsheet or an index card. I don't care how you capture it in your CRM, whatever feels great to you. And then make a practice of reaching out in a thoughtful way. The other thing that
Mm.
I'll do, Karl, is if I'm out and about, I might see a gift that reminds me of someone who's on my list. So I'll purchase that gift. And then when the time is right, I will then send that to that person. And I think what we need to consider is that we are looking for ways to capture the attention of people who are important to us. But then what we want to do is stay connected with them so that they can then be advocates for us or the brand we're building. Maybe they don't become clients, but maybe they refer other people to you who become a client. So as an entrepreneur, this is a business development strategy. As an executive in corporate, how my leaders have been using this, because as you know, I am the confidant to a lot of CEOs of luxury and legacy brands. The way they use it is they use it when they're targeting top talent. And so you can use it to attract clients, you can use it to attract talent. And this system is so simple, and yet it can have a massive impact. Because when someone receives something from you, like I call it lumpy billing, like lumpy packaging, I send everything in a hot pink mailer so it captures their attention. But when you send them a physical thing, it takes what so many of us do in the world, which is often quite intangible, and makes it tangible. And so I'll write a
Mm.
handwritten note, another thoughtful touch, because if someone writes you a handwritten note, you're like, oh, wow, they took the time to actually write out something for me. And then because I love the sense of smell, you read about that in my book, I will spray my note card with a fragrance as well. So, like, there's different ways you can be thoughtful, but I think these systems, as I said, create freedom. So, for those of you listening, the easiest thing to do is start with identifying 5 people, open a spreadsheet, put their names in there, months across the top, and then find creative ways every single month to reach out to them. It doesn't have to cost you anything. It could be a white paper, a TED talk, a newsletter, a podcast, a social media meme that you thought of them. It could be a photograph of the two of you together, but find ways to creatively stay in touch. Another systemized thoughtfulness that I do all the time, Karl, is I grab my cell phone. I spend a lot of time on planes. And so I'm often waiting for the plane to take off, or I'm waiting at the gate for the plane. And so what I do is I grab my cell phone, I shoot a short little video that says, Karl, I had so much fun on your podcast. Thank you for hosting me. So glad we connected on LinkedIn. And then I will text you that video message. And the
Mm.
reason for that is I'm making time in time. I've already got to stand at the gate. I've already got to sit in the seat before the plane takes off. And so I'm making the most of those moments by staying connected. It's a system in my life because I know as soon as I sit in my seat, I can grab my cell phone. Do I look silly on the plane? Sure. Those people don't know me, and I'm building my business. So I'm trying to find ways to do business development and deepen relationships in the moments in my day that I have. And so that's another easy way to systemize thoughtfulness because people get to see your face, your smile, they hear the excitement in your voice, as opposed to one of the 500 emails that they get in their inbox every day.
I love that. Okay, so the system I'm hearing is it's about building connections with people that you like and want to be in their lives.
Mhm.
So I think what I like about this is, like you said, yours is 20, but you can start with 5, you can start with
Sure.
3. And
Yeah.
if you find these little ways of connecting with them, you're
Mhm.
building up the relationship, you're building up that trust. Say, see, you're doing this consistently. Now, I do have a question. Do people fall off that list and do you
Yes.
add, okay, what's your
Every year.
process?
Yes, I love that. So let me go into the system a little bit more. In December, I will look back over that year and decide, do I need to continue another 12 months with that same person on the list? Or has our relationship been cemented in such a great way that there are other ways I can stay connected to them? I am fortunate that I publish a newsletter every 2 weeks, and a lot of people opt into that. And so that's an easy way for me to stay in someone's inbox, at least to stay top of mind for them. I also have the privilege of being a keynote speaker around the world. So I get the opportunity to meet audience members and meetings and events professionals all the time. And so I'll say to them, if you want to stay connected, that's a really easy way to stay connected to me because it's a system. And so the email is personalized to them because you're only allowed to subscribe if you give me your name because it says Dear Karl or G'day Karl. And that means it's that little tiny level of personalization. The privilege of working with so many luxury and legacy brands, Karl, is I think luxury brands know how to personalize and customize everything. And in the
Mm.
book, Exceptional Experiences, that's what we talk about a lot is the power of how do you do that and then how do you systemize it? Because as you know, in the book, we call them systems of elevation.
Okay, so you also have the five luxury levers
I do.
as a feedback system, and I'm curious, how do you build in these feedback loops into each lever of your business? Because you try things and they don't really work, and you need this loop. You need this 360 effect of, okay, I try this, it didn't work. You know, if someone's on this list and you try for 12 months, okay, maybe they're just not a good fit, right? And
Sure.
they're not
Yeah.
responding back. They don't care. Okay, fine,
Yeah.
move on. What does that look like? You know, how do you build this into the five luxury levers?
Five luxury levers or levers, as you say in America, that the five luxury levers, it's the experience elevation model that is the foundation of the entire book. And what I'll quickly do is just go through them so people can understand them. We'll tie back to your question about how do you then make sure you're assessing which systems are making the most sense for you and whether you want to give them the attention or not. I had mentioned at the beginning that the experience elevation model, for those of you listening, think of it like a triangle, right? And at the bottom, we have mind share. How do you capture someone's attention to be able to stay top of mind? And at the point of the triangle, we have market share. How do you create advocates from those same people? The first of the luxury levers is this whole idea of entice. How do you capture their attention? Through the stories you tell, through sharing your origin, being able to truly think to themselves, Karl, why should I pay attention to you? That's the first one. That's how you entice them in. And then the
Mm.
second of the luxury levers is invite. How do you invite them into your product, your company, your organization so they have this sense of belonging? How do you roll out the red carpet experience for them so they feel like they really want to do business with you? Then we move to the luxury lever. If you go up, up, up into the triangle, this is where we start to excite them. This is where you do something that might be share worthy to them. It might be engaging the five senses. We can talk about that as a system if you like later. And then we move to the luxury lever of delight. This is where you show them you really know them. This is where they feel like they are valued and seen by you as a brand or as a leader. And then ultimately, we go to the fifth of the luxury levers, which is ignite. How do you ignite them to be not only advocates for you, but they can't help but think, who can I refer to Karl? Who can I tell
Mm.
about my experience? So, the five luxury levers, you don't necessarily have to even follow them in that particular way. If you're listening to this podcast and you are building a book of business, you're really trying to attract new clients, you might start with those luxury levers at the bottom of entice and invite. But perhaps you're listening to this podcast, you have a great book of business, but you're wondering, why don't my clients refer their friends to me? Why aren't I getting more business from clients who already love me? Maybe you go to delight and ignite. So, what I'm going to encourage our listeners to do is when you grab the model, the experience elevation model inside exceptional experiences, start where it makes sense for you, whatever system of elevation makes sense. You asked me about the feedback loop for the systemized thoughtfulness.
Mm.
I think that for everyone listening to this, you will have a sense of whether that's a relationship you want to deliberately invest more time in, or if it has organically grown and you feel good about the connection you've made. Always building relationships so that I can get business out of them. I'm building relationships because I want to be the person who is top of mind for my clients for whatever they need. I can't speak for my clients every single year. I mean, some of them I do, but the reality is I want to introduce them to other fantastic keynote speakers they could bring into their organization. But by staying in contact with them, I have the privilege of then saying, hey, you know who would be great for your event? I know I spoke about creating exceptional experiences for you this year, but Brittany Hodak has a fantastic book called Creating Superfans. She's a fantastic speaker next year. So, what I'm trying to do is keep the relationship, be a top of mind resource for them so that to them, they're like, oh, thank God, I don't have to go find a speaker. Thank you for that recommendation. And
Mm.
Karl, I think what we want to think about in our world right now, where information is so easily accessible, one of the ways we can truly focus on deepening our relationships, creating a more exceptional experience, is allowing our clients and our team, our customers, our patients, our guests, our students to feel seen, heard, and valued. And if you know them so well, you can surround their entire lifestyle. You can know their business so well that you can make recommendations for them. And then you become top of mind. That is mind share. That's one of our goals. And then they will also advocate for you. Maybe they tell their friends about you. Maybe they tell their fellow CEOs about you. Who knows? But
Mm.
that's what systemized thoughtfulness will do.
So do you have any employees? How
Yeah,
many do you
I
have?
have a wonderful team. I am so, so fortunate. I was listening to your fabulous, it's an old podcast that you did with Jay Papazan, and Keller Williams is one of my clients. I've spoken at Keller Williams' last three symposium with Brady and Caroline, and Caroline is actually featured in the book, which is really interesting. But what Jay was talking about was the importance of an executive assistant. So, people listening to this, it's a great podcast episode. Go back and have a listen to it. So I have a business concierge. We call her our operations goddess. Her name is Jen. Jen and you have been connecting around calendaring, but Jen is someone who manages my projects. She helped me launch my book. She also makes sure that I have everything I need to get from A to B to service the clients that I have. But there are also people in my team that maybe aren't as obvious to others. As a keynote speaker, I travel the world. So I have a phenomenal travel advisor called Nancy. I also have a personal trainer who will train me virtually twice a week. So no matter whether I'm in a hotel or in my home gym, I have the opportunity to manage my energy because that's what my clients are paying for on stage. I have to stay healthy. I have a concierge doctor to ensure that I am making sure I'm taking care of myself. So I think sometimes, Carl, we think of the really obvious things like an executive assistant. But as leaders, whether you have your own business or you're leading a team, you're also responsible for your energy, for your health, making sure you sleep enough. And so my team is really quite diverse. Obviously, I have the obvious ones, like someone who does my finances and someone who takes care of all my insurance. But I think the people who take care of me personally are as important because I have to show up with the energy to serve my client.
Yeah, and I think people are you're right, they often forget that, and the contractors, the designers, the
Vital.
tech, all these people support us, and I think this is important to have systems in place internally as well too, because I think as you're a leader that is leading other people, and AI, we don't think, oh, I'll just go to ChatGPT and ask a question. You are training that AI to help you better. You're
Mhm.
training your
Yeah,
executive assistant to help you better. Your doctor. All these are back and forth. These are feedback loops. And I'm
they are.
curious, do you have a system in place to get feedback from them to learn
Mhm.
hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like, what do you notice? What else can we do to, because I
Love
think
this
if you have
question.
an executive assistant, they
Yep.
have ideas too, but if you don't
Yeah.
ask, yeah, often they won't share.
Carl, she makes me better. She
Mm,
makes me better because, and here's the system that we use. And so this might be interesting to listeners because it's not a traditional system. Of course, we use a suite of products. We use Google products because it's accessible for my whole team, right? So that makes our lives very easy. Everything is Google, Google Docs, Google Calendar, Gmail, etc. But what Jen and I use is a Google Doc. Now, this Google Doc is a living, breathing document that we are both in multiple times in a week. And so, what
mm,
she's doing is tracking all of the events that I'm speaking at, my travel, conversations I want having, projects that we're working on, business development that I'm doing. And so, what she's got a consistent Google Doc where she has a color text, I have pink, that's my signature color. And so we regularly go into this document because it protects our inbox. We don't send emails back and forth to each other. We don't need to because the Google Doc is the central location for the conversations. Once it's done,
mm,
we use it, it's done. Now, we also use Asana, whatever tools people like to use. And the reason we also like Asana is it's easy for project management. I get great satisfaction out of checking mark complete. It makes me feel good. I get a little dopamine hit to mean that I did something today that mattered. But what Jen and I do, this combination of having she pops into my email throughout the day, but I answer my own email. That's something that is actually important to me. And so, but I also love a clear inbox. So she will, when she knows I'm on stage, she will go in and a lead might come in from a client on the website to say, we'd like to book Neen. She'll then pass it across to my speakers bureau. That's a system that I have to say, Neen's available on this date. She would love to do it. Can you take care of it? That's a system. And so what I think we need to think about is if we have team members is we have to find the systems that work best for them. The only time Jen texts me is if she perceives something as urgent, which is pretty rare because we don't deliver babies and we're not curing
Mhm.
cancer.
Mhm.
Speaker in the luxury world. Do you know what I mean? Like life is not urgent in my world. And so Jen doesn't text me like other people might text, but I love text. So we
Mhm.
use it really differently. But I know with Jen, it's important that she has this trail. And so the Google Doc or an email is going to make more sense for her. So what I think we need to consider with our team is we have to ask them what works best for them. Every time I work
Mhm.
with a client, I say to them, what's the best way to communicate with you? Some of them like phone calls. Some of them want to be face to face. Some of them like text. And I always tell them, if you ever need my attention, text me. It's the fastest way to get my attention because I may not look at my email for hours, but my
Mhm.
cell phone, it's not too far from me. So I think we need to share with people the systems that work best for us, but we need to also be flexible so we can then help really work in the systems that are best for them. Tiffany, who helps me with my Instagram account. So we design the posts. I send her the photos and the video. She makes beautiful reels for me. And I just send it all to her. And then voila, it's all done. We never
Mhm.
email anything because for her, she wants it on her phone. Does that make sense to you, Carl? So I think as
Oh,
people listen, find what's easiest. Don't make it too complicated.
yes. And and I think what's important too, it's ever evolving, right? And as you are
Mm-hmm.
trying things, you're like, okay, well, that's not working as well as it used to. This is to me is one of the biggest struggles I think people have with systems. It works, it might work for a year, but then it starts to not work and
Mm-hmm.
they stick with it because they're like they just almost don't
Mm-hmm.
want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Do you have a process for like, okay, like let's review these systems? Okay, let's hear it.
It's so funny you asked that because after every speaking engagement, one of my systems with Jen is the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, very quickly after I get off stage, if I'm in the Uber on my way to the airport or if I'm sitting at the hotel, I will say to Jen, this was good, this was bad, this was ugly. Now, hopefully, there's no ugly, but the reason for it is to help us understand what do we need to get ahead of next time. And every time we do these calls, these debriefs, like if you're in project management, you know the importance of a debrief for every project you do. So think of it like
Mm-hmm.
that. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason it's a simple system, Carl, is very quickly, it's to me, it's an emotional reaction. This was really good. I love this audience. Hey, this didn't work. Can we fix that for next time? And so, what it allows us to do is keep our contract really current, keep all of the information that our meeting planners need really up to date. It also allows us, if something happened that wasn't great, we think that didn't feel like an exceptional experience. How do we fix that so it never happens again? So we're constantly evolving our systems, right? But also, what we learn through these systems is my own energy. I know when my brain is at its best. I know when my energy is at my best. And so, if a client ever says to me, can you speak at dinner? I'll be like, no, thank you so much. Let me find you a stand up comedian who'd be fabulous. But that's not Neen James, right? I am the business speaker. I often follow the CEO. I know exactly where I'm fabulous in a conference agenda. And I'm not a nighttime speaker. I would need a little nap in the afternoon, Carl, if I was going to speak at night. But I think it's also knowing what is really best for you as well, and then building systems around your life. We also have built my calendar. So there are very clear boundaries in my calendar of what time I start seeing clients, what time I finish, when I walk, when I eat, when I do maintenance, when I do email, when I'm doing strategic thinking. My calendar, it's like a game of Tetris and it's all color coded, which to other people might seem crazy overwhelming, but instantly every color means something in my office. So the colors of the clients match the colored manila folders that I use and carry. So we have some very specific ways we even use color as a system in my
Mm-hmm.
business as well, because I said Systems create freedom, and the freer that you can make that beautiful real estate in your brain, the easier your life will be to focus on the things that really matter. I literally even wear the same thing on stage. I have 5 versions of this shirt so that I can wear this when I'm doing podcasts and I don't even have to worry about laundry. Like that's a system. So we've even systemized my wardrobe.
I love that. And I think it's so important to call that out. Everything needs to be tailored to how you work, right? Like colors work well for you. It might not work for other people,
Correct.
but
Yeah.
it works for you and it helps you to your point. You can almost just take a glance at your calendar and you know
Mhm.
what's coming up.
Exactly.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's so important
I think
because
two people that are listening might be very visual, Carl. So if you're a visual learner and you need things like I love to see things written down. I love to see things on like I'm a person who needs to see it. I need the colors. But some people who are listening to this, they might be more audio learners. So you might love a podcast. You might love listening to an audio book. You can listen to someone's instruction and remember, I admire those people, Carl. It's just not the way I'm wired. I need to see it. So I think when you know yourself well, you can build the systems that support you the best. The other thing to
yes.
think about when you have team members is if you want an exceptional experience for them, ask them really about how you could serve them better. What is it you could do to help them be even better at their job? And that will then make you more exceptional as a leader as well. Too often, I think we're so focused on growing the business or opening a new project or whatever it is that we don't always stop to think, hey, there's a human being at the end of that system.
Yes.
So let's
Yeah.
make sure that we take care of that.
And I think this is priorities, right? Like you have to be able to, and it almost comes back to the beginning of this show of like these 20 people you make a priority each month, right?
I
And
do. Yeah.
and I think this shows it's showing how your brain works. It's showing what you prioritize and what matters to you in your business because you can't do it all. You
No.
can't write 1,000 books. You can't speak 1,000 times in a year. It
Nope.
matters. Okay, well, how do we assess these things? What do I say yes to? What do I say no to? And I think
Yes.
that's maybe where we can go next because how do you decide what to say no to? Because
Oh, I
and I
love this question. Okay, we have 2 systems that I want to tell you about. Um, and I think it might sound really, really basic, but here's the first is this. We have a rule, especially when I'm on the road. I will make no decisions when I'm on the road. No significant decisions get made when I'm with a client. That's really important. If I'm on site with a client, that's the only thing I'm thinking about is that client. So we have this saying, and it goes like this: if it's not yes, it's no.
mm,
And Carl, here's what that means. If my instant reaction is not, yes, I want to do that. Yes, I'll see that person. Yes, I'll speak at that event. Yes, I'm delighted to do that. If my instant reaction is not, yes, it's no. Not maybe, not I'll think about it. Too often we waste time in this gray area of, I don't know if I should do it. Should I do it? And then we overthink it and we waste time. So if my instant reaction is not yes, it's no. And then we move on, right? So that simplifies our life. And the team know I can make very quick decisions and I stand by the decision. Perhaps I make a wrong decision, but at least I made a decision instead of wasting the real estate in my brain going over it. That's one of our systems to help with that. The second system that we have is more like a mantra in my business. We have what we call the luxury manifesto, which is all about operating principles of how we run our business. But one of my mantras is I do what I love with people I love in places I love. I do what I love with people I love in places I love. If the opportunity cannot check those boxes, it's a no. So, what I would encourage our listeners to think about is what's your version of that? Because
mm.
you have to know what you really want to say yes to make the no so easy. I was invited to speak at an event that would have taken 3 flights. The people I'm sure were lovely, but it would have taken me 3 days to do a 45-minute keynote for the client. So I said to the client, I would love to serve your team. Logistically, it's too challenging for me to make it work with what I have got. Would you consider a virtual opportunity for us to play together in that way? If you would allow me to beam into your boardroom, I'd love to work with your executive team. And they said yes. Maybe they would have said no, and that's okay. But what I couldn't do, Karl, was rearrange my whole life for 3 days for a 45-minute presentation, no matter how fun it sounded. We have to
Mm,
know if we're doing what we love and with people we love in places we love. The place was not somewhere that I would have loved to go. Because if it did, then I maybe would have spent the 3 days to get there. But do you
mm-hmm,
see what I'm thinking about? Always. So, two things to think about. If it's not yes, it's no. Easy peasy.
mm-hmm.
Do what you love with people you love in places you love. Now, some of you listening to this might be in the early stages of your business where you are building your book of business. Oh, honey, you got to do everything, whether you like it or you don't like it. And I know I'm coming from a place of privilege, I'm a little old lady now who's been running her business for a long time. And I know it's a privilege to make a decision like that. But please know, I've definitely spoken places that were not fabulous. I drove through the night for clients. I've slept on an airport floor. Like, you name the things that happen in your industry. Yeah, you got to earn your stripes. So, depending on where you are in your business, also determines how you say yes to things and how you say no. It's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about the experience you're going to have. I have the privilege of working with some incredible brands in the world, and the experiences that I have are remarkable because I said yes. Maybe they're not paying my fee to be there, my full fee. I don't care. If I get to have a new experience, I love it. So we have to all know what our decision filtering systems are. That's what I call it, a decision filtering system. And an easy decision filtering system every person listening to this can have is decide what's your theme for the year. Is it a word? Is it a phrase? Now, for 2026, at the time of recording, my theme for the year is curated elevation. How do I curate every experience for myself, my clients, and my team? And how do I elevate it every single time? So I ask myself all the time, is it curated? Is it elevated? If it can't match that decision filtering system, then possibly it's a no. And so that's how I make decisions, yes or no.
Mm, I love it. Okay, there's so much there. One, it's a gut check. I heard that system because
Yeah.
I think we often, as entrepreneurs, we start to overanalyze and we start to look at
Mm.
data and it's too much and we end up wasting time when the
Yeah.
reality is it's just a gut. Your body knows if it doesn't want to go somewhere for 3 days and then come back and the recovery time that takes from that trip.
It's true. I was just talking to my business coach about this week. We were texting back and forth. My business coach is Pam Slim. She's phenomenal. She wrote so many great books, body of work, Cubicle Nation. She's a genius. But there was an opportunity, which is a client I love. It is a great opportunity. It's in a location that is challenging. And I said to her, I've done so much work with this client and I love them. I love, love, love them. But for some reason, I just couldn't say yes to this. And I didn't know why I was living in this gray space in my brain. And so over the course of 24 hours, she had asked me some questions to think about. And like you say, I remember just sitting in my hotel and I was like, no, no, I'm not going to do it because the recovery time will be too challenging for me with everything I have on my plate right now. Now, it's an amazing opportunity. But what I was able to do to say to my client, I would love to be in this incredible place with you. However, this person is going to be a fantastic person for you to use instead this time. But keep me in mind because I would love to experience that with you. So, what we also need to do, Karl, is when we are going to say no, we need to have an alternative for the client or the team member so that we are still staying top of mind. We're still helping them in whatever it is they need. I have a suite of speakers I can recommend no matter what. I have a suite of coaches I can recommend no matter what. Because when you have the relationship, your job is to say, hey, have you thought about this person as a guest for your podcast? They'd be genius. Have you thought about
Mm,
this consultant to help you with this project? While I'm unable to help you, this person has expertise I think would really accelerate this for you. So we also have to be generous. That's another systemized thoughtfulness that I have. I literally have a page of speakers. I know their fees, I know what their topics are, and I'll share with my client. I'll say, this is the bureau I think would be great for you to work with. I work with Kepler. And I'd say to them, Kepler will be able to find this person for you for this date. Those opportunities, that's another system where you're still making sure that you're the go-to resource for them.
Yeah, you're still creating exceptional service because maybe it's not you delivering it, but you're handing them off to somebody that could help them.
Yeah, and Carl, you don't have to be a luxury product to have a luxury level of service.
Mm-hmm.
The book
Yep.
Exceptional Experiences, the subtitle is Five Luxury Levers to Elevate Every Aspect of Your Business. And I have applied these principles to the emergency room of one of my hospital clients, to a manufacturing plant that I work with. So it's not just all fabulous luxury retail or hotels or travel. What I'm finding is entrepreneurs who've picked up this book. I worked with an AI company earlier in the week, and as soon as the CEO read this, they picked it up at the airport and they were like, I need you to come speak to my ELT. I need you at my sales kickoff. And it was so fun because we're talking about data engineers, software engineers, people who are, AI, right? You understand the importance of that. And we had so much fun talking about how do you apply these systems of elevation to any business. So if you're wondering about the book, I read the book. If you're an audio learner, I narrate the book. But I think if anyone on this listening to this has ever heard of Will Guidara, who wrote a great book called Unreasonable Hospitality, Will and
Mm-hmm.
I were chatting last summer and we agreed his book is like a love letter to the hospitality industry. And mine is the playbook. So if you want
Mm.
systems, how to do it, that's how the book was designed for leaders who truly want to be able to build these advocates that will allow them to grow their business.
I love that. Yes, yes. And real quick, and I want to go. We covered so much things you do well. I want to focus on a struggle, but before we do, I think the decision making framework is a system too. You're saying this is my word for the year, and it
Mm-hmm.
helps you make decisions.
It
Same
does.
thing, with your luxury manifesto, right? It
Mm-hmm.
helps you make decisions. And if you say no to things, you can point back to the manifesto, or you can point to the word, and you can say,
Right.
right now, this is my word. I'm sorry. I would love to do it, whatever. But then it takes some of the pressure off of you and puts it on the manifesto because you're like, look, this is what we developed. We have to live by it. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's such a wonderful system as well. Um, where do you struggle in your business, and what are you doing to, I guess, give yourself support?
I have phenomenal ideation. The team will tell you, and I've had it measured. My ideation productivity is like 94% or something obscene. So put me in a room and let me come up with ideas. I love it. Just to make me execute them.
Mm,
So what I know about myself is my ideation is fabulous. Clients literally pay. They say, I just want the real estate in your brain. And that makes me so happy. But I'm not the person to implement, Carl. So I have made sure that I have, to your point earlier, about a phenomenal team around me. I could have a great idea, but someone else is often going to execute it.
mm,
As a thinking leader in my business, I have three jobs: to think about it, to sell it, and deliver it. That's it. Anything outside of think, sell, deliver, that's for the rest of my team to think about. So, knowing that about myself, my attention to detail, if I really have to do something, I'll do it, but I would much rather someone else. So,
mm,
what I think about is how do I then make sure that my life is designed accordingly? That's why Jen is exceptional at what she does, because she is really great at the detail. Her spreadsheets are off the charts, scary to me, but it works for her, right?
mhm.
So I don't enjoy that. I start a lot of projects. I don't finish all the projects. And that's something that's also good to know about yourself, because what Jen will tell some of the business partners we work with, she'll say to them, now, Carl, Neen will have a whole lot of great ideas for you. Doesn't mean you have to implement them. So when she onboards people that are working with us, the extension of our team, whether it's the video designer or the graphic designer or the website designer, whoever we're bringing into the team, she will literally tell them that Neen will have all these great ideas, but you don't have to go after all those ideas. Like
Mhm.
her job is to like pull me back in. So the way that I've also helped systemize that, I'll say to Jen or whoever I'm with, let me just get all these ideas out of my head, and then let's just sort what's reality, what's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
once you can apply those systems, those decision filtering systems, I might think it's really fun, but it could be quite ridiculous. And ridiculous
Mm.
could be expensive, unachievable, not designed yet. So I think what you want to do is know where you're really good, but then also ask for the support in places you're not. And so, if you're building your book of business, a potential system for you is maybe you can't afford to pay all these people to do all these things for you. So, when I first moved from Sydney City to the USA, I had no clients, I had no network, I had to
Mm.
start my whole business from scratch. And so, what I did was I bartered. I knew I needed financial support, I needed all my books set up. And so I reached out to a CPA who I'd been meeting at a networking event. And I said, is there any chance we could barter? Would you be willing to set up my QuickBooks for me in the chart of accounts if I come in and speak to your team and train them on my old book, which was Attention Pace? And she said, I love this idea. She gets free training, and I got all of my accounts set up. So a system that you can think about is bartering your expertise for someone
Mm.
else's brilliance while you are really trying to delegate or outsource things in your life that maybe are not your strength.
That is a really good idea. Like you want to, even if you want to build a relationship with them,
Yeah,
bartering and saying, yeah,
yeah,
like,
it's a system. Yeah,
yeah, I love that.
yeah.
Okay. I feel like I could talk all day long with you. Where can people go to find out more about you?
Fortunately, there's only one Neen James. So if you go to neenjames.com, you can find out everything we've been talking about today. You can follow my adventures on Instagram. Or if you do reach out on LinkedIn, please make sure you mention that it's because you heard Karl and I chatting on his podcast today.
Cool. Thank you so much.
My privilege.